Look at verse 13, because Christ's coming simply reveals what people have been all the time. Remember, His coming is to reveal what we were doing. It's to pull back the veil. Most of us can appear a certain way, but God sees our motives. That's why we're not supposed to judge one another's motives. Paul said that. He says, don't judge one another's motives. Don't say, I know that person's motivated by, this or that. God is the one. He's the motive judger. We are supposed to concentrate on ourselves, what our personal works are. And verse 13 says that when we stand before Christ, each man's work will become manifest. The day will disclose it. Remember, the one who has planned the end from the beginning has told us what will happen in the days ahead. And that is His plan. And remember, where we are tonight, this judgment seat of Christ, is the second of the 7 big events. Now, I'm going to back through them in case you haven't been with us. I call these 7 steps from now to eternity, and we're going through them backward. The last one is heaven in Revelation 21 and 22. And as I said this morning, when you look at the book of Revelation, when you open the Bible, you're actually looking at the greatest history book of all. This is the most beautiful history book, because all other history books rely on secondary sources. This one is primary. When you read the stories in the Old Testament, God actually recorded those conversations. They are accurate. When you look at the thoughts, God actually wrote down what people thought. And it's just a little insight into what the judgment seat of Christ is going to be like. Do you remember that many times in the Bible we actually have someone's thoughts? The book of Nehemiah is filled with it. If you've ever read Nehemiah, it's one of the most beautiful diaries in the Bible. And Nehemiah, when he's coming before the king, he says, and I thought about this, and I thought, boy, if I say this, the king's going to do this or that. And he's actually writing down his thoughts. And God is seeing them and recording them for us. And it shows his prayers that he didn't say out loud. And he says, and I prayed favor from the Lord with the king. And so in the Bible, this beautiful history book, we have not only the event, and not only the exact event, but we have thoughts, we have recorded words, we have even motivations and intents of the heart. But when you look at Revelation, you're looking at history that hasn't yet happened. And the last 2 chapters, 21 and 22, we saw are the 7th of the 7 events, and that's heaven. And that is chapter 21 on, where there's no sickness, no tears, no sadness. And it's just as God intended. It's paradise restored and returned. It's like the wonders of Eden, only there's no devil around tempting. And there's also, it says in verse 8, there's no liar and no whoremonger, none of the sin. It's all gone. We are perfected. And we are finally, as God wants us to be, forever His servants, worshiping Him. That's the 7th event. That's 21 and 22. Revelation 20, the last half of that chapter is the great white throne. That's the final judgment. That's when everyone that's ever lived on this planet, and it says in the sea and Hades and everything gives up. A lot of people, when they read that in the great white throne, it says the sea give up the dead. It says, what's this? Well, have you ever thought that there might be as many as 1 billion people buried under the sea? You say, 1 billion? Oh, well, think about how long it was from Adam to Noah, and think about how long everybody lived, and how long they kept having children. Remember, the Bible is history. It really happened. Those longevities of their lives really happened. They really did live 900 and some years. That's why, that little thing in 2 Peter, a day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day. What it's talking about is, it's talking about God's grace and His patience with us. And the longest life anybody lived on the planet was 969 years. So what the Lord is saying is, my grace will be with you for your whole lifetime. I will be patient for you till your last breath. I am patient. I will go a lifetime. I'll go 1,000 years. God is very patient and long-suffering. That's the whole context of that passage. But those people really did live that long. And they had a lot of children. And Dr. Henry Morris, the great Institute of Creation Research scholar, said it's very easy that there were as many as 1 billion people on earth before the flood. We always think, maybe it was Noah and his neighbors. Really? I mean, where do you get all that stuff to build that huge barge? I mean, do you ever think of that? Where do you get all that finished wood and all the pitch and stuff? He was buying it. I mean, there was civilization around him. He had some kind of tools. He was building that thing. And he preached to somebody, and so who knows how many, but probably however many there were, maybe 1 billion, are under the sea. And they're all going to out of the seabed, and they're going to come and stand at that great white throne, Revelation 20, 11 through 15. Then the first 10 verses are about the millennium. It says 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. It really is going to happen. It doesn't say millennium. That's Latin, mille, for 1,000. But in the Greek, kile is where we get kilios, and the idea that we're 1,000-year believers, or believe in the 1,000-year reign. But that millennial reign of Christ is what fully a fifth of the Old Testament is about. You look at most of Isaiah from chapter 39 on is about the millennium. And most of, you just read through Ezekiel from 40 to 48, those 8 chapters all about the millennium. All of those promises to Israel about the desert blooming as a rose, they're only partially fulfilled now. They're going to be completely fulfilled in the millennium when Israel is just under God's blessing. But that 7th event is heaven. 6th event is great white throne. The 5th event is millennium. The 4th event is in chapter 19 as we're backing through Revelation. The entire chapter is about the second coming of Christ and about Him righting all wrongs and Him coming and beginning His rule with the rod of iron, as it says in chapter 2, or the 2nd Psalm. And the 3rd event, which we looked at most in depth last week, was Revelation 6. Actually, 6 through 18 are all about the tribulation. There's different facets of it, and it's kind of like, as I told you, the unfolding of a flower, and just as you go toward, it just spreads out, and each thing just gets more intricate. And that's what the tribulation's about from 6 through 18, with the second coming being in 19. But that takes us to the second event that looms biggest for all of us who know Jesus.